Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Select and non-select speak different languages. And I talked about this before because of the communication piece, but the universe has a way of confirming like thoughts that you might have through like actual folks. It's one thing to think, make an observation, but when someone else independent of you makes that observation, you start saying, "Oh, okay, that's what's up." So I remember I mentioned a retreat that was on this past weekend. Where the women broke down the guys they saw as whatever category. And just to be clear, we returned the favor. We returned the favor, but and we were straight up with them. But they took it. They took it as well as they dished it out. But one of the fellas in it said he had an interesting comment to me. He said it to me, and I said, "Damn, you done blew my mind." Because it was something I said before myself, but to hear it from a different perspective. Because you had dudes who were Mr. Goodbars. They weren't like, "Oh yeah, everything great," and they were talking a certain way. Then you had people, men who might have been like in that masked man thing. They were talking a certain way. And so on and so forth. And the thing about it was, he said each group got a separate language. Because he said, when the good bars are talking about something, he was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And understand something about language. It's not just words that you're saying. It's the context with the words. And it's also a combination of experience. Like when you get some guys talking or complaining about like women constantly inboxing them and sending them pictures, a lot of guys not going to understand that because it's not their experience. Because when you say a word, use a term, automatically we make an association with something, positive or negative. So it's like y'all can be speaking technically the same like language, like y'all both speaking English or you both speaking French. But when you add a factor in the experiences, they ain't gonna understand. Like one thing with my book, Nice Guys and Players, when I say women choose the men, I've noticed with different groups, they gonna take it a different way. Like a Mr. Goodbar type, they gonna take it like, "Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, women choose the men," because Mr. Goodbars had the experience of women constantly chasing them. They will have that general experience, or women have bringing some drama to them without them having to do much, or or just good. They're going to also have a better interaction with women. Maybe not. I mean, it's nothing never 100% positive, but they ain't going to be the type to want to bash women because they experience. So they're going to talk a certain way. Now you contrast that with the nice guy. The nice guy is doing all this fake nice stuff, and I'm gonna say fake nice stuff. Because the women broke it down. I've seen it before. When they really want the pussy, but that's their tactic and they hoping it'll work. But see, because they not being who they supposed to be, the women, just them, they gonna say, "Oh, these women want you to do this and that, jump through hoops and all of that." And that's that language. But see, the good bar, depending on how early it was he was starting to get attention like that, he might be like, "Man, I don't even know. What are you talking about, Or the gamesmen on a different vibe because, they're using strategy and, they calculating, they making chess moves and stuff when they dealing with the women. They play planning. They in their, logic, step by step. All right, yeah, all right. I know they're going to be here and let me break this shit down, right? But the good bar might flow more. And then the masked man putting whatever mask he got on. So they're going to talk a certain way. In fact, their conversations, or it's going to be like, "Nah, if you just do this or you act this way," or they might not even respond. But the fact is they speak in different languages. And like I said in that video when I talked about the communication issues between select and non-select, I think that's a big problem, a very big problem in this YouTube space. You get some guys who, I might say something, they don't understand it or they think it's crazy. And it's like, no, I'm speaking that language. Like, I'm going to give y'all an example. I remember years ago, somebody read my book, and they actually said to me, I must not know how to get women. You know? But the thing was, they didn't understand the language I was speaking. Because I've had actual players and pimps read the book, and they were like, oh yeah, that's it. They could read. I've literally, when I've sold the book, I show them like a passage and they buy it. They see it right away. They already see that, oh, this is it. But then I was speaking good bar language when I wrote the book, or at least select language. At least select language. I was speaking a certain language. Because that's why a lot of people say, oh, I like, what? That's crazy. Like, women don't choose men. You got to choose it. But then somebody, if I wrote that book from like a gamesman perspective or a chaser perspective, you know, I was like, yeah, you got to do this and you got to do that. Or somebody's like going to be manipulative. That's like, you got to do this or that. You know, like the other day, I thanked my subscribers and I thought about it. I was like, wow, that means I have a significant amount of people who resonate with what I say, which means they speak the same language. And the people who co-sign me are usually that type. The men who co-sign me the most are the good bar types, the player types. It's like I automatically click with them because we're automatically speaking the same language. It's a tooth pull with nice guys because, you know, it's a tooth pull with nice guys because, you know, their language is like the basic blue pill language. Yeah, if you do this, you pay, you do nice things, you virtuous and stuff, boom. Whereas, but you know, the good bar language is probably is like just be authentic, be yourself, tell them what the fuck is on your mind, you know, like that. Like I've had some dudes one day, it's like, man, you be saying some fucked up shit, doing some fucked up shit. And you know, I got to shout out one of my girls I ain't gonna call her name, at the retreat. She was surprised I was helping with anything. She's like, you're a diva. I was like, what? She was surprised I was helping to like move stuff. She didn't expect me to like pick up some bags or something to help out. But that's because I wasn't trying to be Mr. Nice Guy and pretend. I was just being me. I was just going, no matter what, I'm going to be whatever you seeing in front of you is me. I'm not going to pretend or do whatever just because, or, you know, say the politically correct thing all the time or do it. But it is a different language thing, and that's something to consider, man. Like, let me get serious for a second. That's somebody to consider. Like, if you hearing it and sound crazy, maybe, okay, that first of all, that tells you we're not on the same page language. We're not speaking the same language. And that might actually be something for someone to do. It's like, okay, how can you translate this? And seriously, it's just that deep. And, you know, that's something to consider. Like, I'll use another example for myself. All these guys who are just on that TFL thing or incel thing, or they can't see, or they think anything I'm saying is bullshit. I can't understand their language. Reason why? Well, I can understand it, but it's, you know, I got a strain to relate to it because it's like I can't relate to it. Because, shoot, women cool with me, a little too cool. It's, you know, kind of easy. You know, without me doing any work or something. And, you know, my first thought, I'd be like, damn, there's women out here, though. You know? But, you know, it's just a real thing. And one thing I would say, too, you know, sometimes if you ain't understanding, like you watching video, you ain't understanding the language, don't jump on there and say, oh, yeah, you wrong, and be cursing out and everything. It's like you just don't understand the language. Go from it. The smart thing to do is try to learn the language. And then the second thing to do is, you know, if you can't do that, you got a problem, just walk your ass on. It's really that simple. Walk your motherfucking ass on. Seriously, that's the thing to do. If you ain't speaking the same language, because it's like too many dudes thinking, oh well, it's my way. Because usually if you speak in a certain way or hanging out or speaking a certain language, of course you're gonna spend time with people speaking a similar language. and think that's the world, but it's not. So anyway, it's something to ponder, though. It's something to ponder, and that's something to consider. And like I said, I need to think of a way to start translating the languages, because it really is a different thing. So anyway, that's all I got for today. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and many blessings.